If you have no money, you have no mission. You can't serve people unless you could put food on the table for you and your family.
Welcome back to Chirox, where you talk business growth for, well, chiropractors. I'm your host, Corey Hibben, and you just heard Dr. Jesse lay down the uncompromising truth that often gets missed in healthcare. Money and mission are not mutually exclusive. One enables the other. Dr. Jesse is about to open his 9th chiropractic location, so he's no stranger to building and scaling a practice. However, he's also an expert at helping high-performing clinicians escape the trap of just being a high-earning clinician and truly becoming the CEO of a scalable, profitable business. In this episode, we dive into the emotional and practical shifts required to unlock your practice's true earning potential. We break down the exact strategies for valuing your services and raising your prices to what you're worth, moving away from an insurance model to build a cash-based practice that attracts patients based on value, not copays, the psychological framework as to why patients say no, it's definitely not always a price, and how to position yourself as the only unique solution, and how to build a high-leverage marketing system. If you're ready to stop apologizing for your fees, then this episode's for you. Let's dive in.
Where I want to start is you said something that I found very interesting. You said that in order to be a successful chiropractor, you have to be a better business person than you do a chiropractor. What does that mean to you? And how does that actually show up to you on a day-to-day basis of like how you actually practice or run a business?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for asking that question, because when it comes down to most chiropractors that I see, they've built their identity through adjusting spines, being the healer or the facilitator of healing. And I did that too. That's how I started. I wanted to be the best chiropractor I could be until I realized that skill doesn't scale. And the only thing that really scales is that the systems you create. So being a better business person to me means that I wake up thinking about my people. Whereas earlier, when I first started, it was, I want to get this person better. I want to focus on my community, and that never changes. But when you think about your process, your procedures, your performance, not just your patients, that's being a better business person versus clinician. I can also tell you one thing, that clinicians don't scale past a certain level. So you must become a better business person than you are a clinician. Should you be the best clinician possible? Yes. But you also need to be a better business person.
So how does that actually show up in day-to-day for you then? Because I can imagine that for most practitioners, and I see this all the time, especially with people, with doctors that I talk to, is that they're generally speaking like a solo practitioner probably, trying to do all the things from like both being a practitioner and also trying to run the business side of things. And eventually, as you said, like you probably reach a max point where like you essentially can't scale any farther trying to do both things. So I'm curious then, is like, what did maybe that transition look like for you? And also like, what are you doing now versus then that allowed you to get past that scaling point that I'd be willing to bet most doctors probably run into, which is why most doctors just stay a solo practitioner, which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But if you have ambitions to scale, like how do you actually do that?
Yeah, I mean, first off, statistically, most chiropractors are never going to be able to scale because it's just not their personality type. They are what I call farmer doctors. They are clinical expertise doctors. They want to really focus on giving quality chiropractic care, getting people better. They don't care about the business side, but there is a business side to it. If you have no money, you have no mission. Okay. So you can't serve people unless you could put food on the table for you and your family. One of my mentors, the question you asked was, where's that threshold that you need to be really focused on, the business and scaling? One thing that I realized was when you have low data, you have high drama. So you don't know where your holes are in the bucket. You don't know why you're experiencing this or that. You have low new patient numbers. Your percentage kept or patients keeping their appointments are low. Your ads aren't performing. Whatever it is, if you don't have the data, you have high drama, and that gets in your head. Then you get in your head, you're dead. But when you get high data, then you have low drama. I mean, I was having a conversation with my doctors at my main office today, and I was going over their conversion, and I was going over conversion process versus lifestyle conversion process. I was diving into the numbers, deep diving, so they could see the problem is not this, it's actually this number. So with With low data, you got high drama. I trust my team and my doctors to deliver the highest quality care, but my job is to give them clarity, accountability, and the resources to grow. So really the truth of it is when you put your team in front of yourself, that's when you start to become an amazing business person. If you lose sight of that, then you're just another chiropractor with a job, not a CEO building anything special.
Was the mentor Dr. Stephen Franson that told you that?
I got a lot of mentors. Dr. Franson is one of them for sure.
Yeah. The only reason I say that is I was literally just with him a few weeks ago, actually at a conference in Denver, and he said the very similar statement to me. And so it's right. It's accurate. I'm just curious.
Dr. Franson, he was able to get all my thoughts and my experiences and all the shit that I have in my head. And he's done the most incredible way of organizing it. Like Dr. Franson is an absolute genius when it comes to becoming a CEO. I have multiple mentors. Dr. Franson has been able to provide a flow and an organizational context for me to replicate and teach my doctors. So he is all about that low data, high drama, or high data, low drama. And it's 100% correct.
But I ask you an impossible question that I hope you can answer. And it's, what would you say is the most important numbers that you track? And has that changed or evolved over the years? Or do you feel like maybe you're just a wiser business owner now and that's what's changed and evolved, what numbers you should track?
That's hard to say. I would not say it's top line. Top line revenue is there's a fallacy there thinking that you're actually making money when your expenses could go up. I mean, obviously it would be net profit or what I call, and Dr. Franson calls net momentum. When you can see your momentum in your practice, so how many patients are you adding to the practice, then you can actually dictate and predict your growth. Top line revenue collections are usually what everybody looks at. But I mean, to me, it's net profit. It's like, what are you bringing home? That's, to me personally, what are you bringing home at the end of the day? Because everybody says, oh, I see 500 a week. Cool. But you see them at $20 a pop and your expenses, you have 10% margins, right? So it would be net profit or margins. That's really, I would say, the most important metric when it comes to your just overall business, not chiropractic related.
How have your margins adjusted over the growth and the scaling of your practice? Like, how did it change from when maybe you were like a solo practititioner up until, I think you guys are going to have what, like 9 locations now or something like that?
Yeah, we're opening office number 9. Yeah, so I mean, 100% the margins change. You obviously with chiropractic, it's an incredible business model because most chiropractors, if they're not integrated and they don't have a bunch of very expensive equipment and employees, you do everything by hands. Chiropractic means by hands only. So, man, it's such an incredible business model because your overhead is mainly your payroll and your rent. So with that being said, as you scale, as you add more people, your margins are going to go down because you have to pay more people. And then if you have an office like mine that's been open for 10 years, if you have great people, you want to keep those great people. And to keep those great people, you got to pay them more. So like, it doesn't make sense. Like whenever I talk to doctors, they're like, how much do you pay your CAs? I mean, I have CAs, office managers who have been with me 5 and 7 years, 10 years. So like those people make more than my doctors make because they're that valuable to me. So that goes against my margins, right? Another part of that question is, are you growing your practice or are you growing your market? So like as I open more offices, those patients that would have come to my office are now going to my other offices. So that's going to hit my top line and I'm not going to make as much in one of my offices because we're spreading it across the 9 offices that are open. So yes, it's very common to see your margins decrease a little bit, but it shouldn't be significant. I mean, you're looking at maybe 5 to 10%, but nothing more than that.
This leads me to a nice little segue in regards to the team, I guess. You said you've been able to keep people on for 5+ years, which I think is incredible, especially for the chiropractic industry. I'm curious as to there's two parts of this question. I'm honestly like almost selfishly asking for my fiance, who is in the current moments challenged with hiring and keeping talent. And it's like that's really where I'm going with this question is like one side of the equation is like how do you hire? Like, because that's a skill like anything else in this world. And so like, how do you hire appropriately? Like, what are you looking for? And then also too, how do you retain? How do you keep people around?
I mean, I think that's a culture question, if you ask me, because when you hire someone, I'm not hiring for their resume. I'm not hiring based off their skills. Because to be straight with you, I can teach or train someone those skills, but I can't change the character of that person. So when I hire someone, do they align with our core values? Do they align with our mission? If I get someone that doesn't align with those things, there's no way, no matter what I pay them, they're not going to stay with me. Another component to that is really more geared around the vision and the clarity that you're providing for your team. So, one of the first questions we ask our doctors, our CAs, my C suite level employees, where do you see yourself in a year, 3 years, 5 years? Like, what's the end game? Because I want to serve you. I want to make sure we're doing this together. And if I don't know where you want to be, how the hell am I going to be able to provide you the resources and get to that point? So I think clarity is a huge, huge component to leadership in this regard. So like my team that's been with me 5, 7, 8 years, they had goals that were buying a house, buying a certain type of car, having babies, being able to move out of their parents' house with their fiance at the time. You know, you end up doing life with these people. And when you see them achieve the goals that they set 2, 3, 5 years earlier, it's the most fulfilling thing you can get as a leader. So man, hiring people, it all starts with core values, which is a whole different conversation we can dive into. But the core values are what you stand for. That's, as Dr. Franson, one of my mentors, says, that's the bouncer to your practice, the bouncer to your business. That's the person sitting in the back saying, nope, can't come in. Yeah, you're good. Um, it's the lens in which your office, your business is perceived through. So you got to dive into those core values and see what resonates with you. And then that's going to attract the right people into your practice, into your business, and onto your team.
It's one of those words that like feels so soft, right? Is like culture. Like, what does that mean? And like, but I would argue, and I think you would probably agree that when it comes to a practice that's actually trying to scale, your culture and your team and your values are probably some of the most important things. And obviously your vision as well, right? Is like, because it always makes me think of like the whole scenario going on right now with Meta and Elon and this whole AI thing. And they're trying to recruit top level AI agents or AI employees to come and build and create the next AI machine for their companies. And Meta was offering these, like, I think it was like $100 million signing contracts to come to Meta and to use and to build the AI. And most of them actually ended up going to Elon and helping him build Grok. And it wasn't because of a paycheck, it was because of the mission that he is driving towards, right? And I think that's just like a great overarching example of how powerful something of like a vision, a mission, a culture, and values can be. Is like people will happily give up $100 million, obviously, in this scenario, if they know the work that they're doing actually matters. So I'm curious for you in terms of like, how have you been able to do this in the chiropractic world? And what are some maybe like even like frameworks or some non-negotiables that you have implemented into this like culture team building thing that you found to be successful to help you build this team?
Yeah, I mean, again, these are incredible questions. Okay, so culture is by far the hardest thing to scale, and that's why you'll see chiropractors open one, maybe two or three offices, and then they don't have the bandwidth to because they don't have the culture, right? You cannot be at all different places at all times. The chiropractors that open up multiple offices, they're like here one day, there the other day. they're here a half day and then the other location too. That never works. I've never been outside my one office. When we built second office, third office, fourth office, I always stayed put. But here's the deal, Corey. What I realized was I thought I had a really good culture. When I first opened my practice, we were killing it, taught someone, they killed it. Third one, they were kind of doing good, but not as good as I wanted them to be. Then I started to look at it and I'm like, my culture is not as strong as I thought it was going to be because we didn't have our 10 commandments. We didn't have our constitution. We had nothing to stand for. We were just another chiropractic office on the corner in a medtail type of setting. So once we realized, what the fuck do we stand for? Like, why are people, if you went to the grocery store and you see all this mustard on the shelf, you see there's 25 different types of mustard. And then there's another 25 different brands for those 20 different types of mustards. Why would you pick that one? Why would you pick this one over that one? Is it cost? Is it all organic? Is it Dijon? Is it XYZ? What I realized is there's no one in chiropractic that stands for anything. So that's when I said, wow, this is an incredible opportunity to show, hey, FreeForm, my business, we stand for America. We stand for what America was built off of. We stand by leading by example, being the standard, staying humble, being loyal, connecting the community, always. So then I started to compile, what do we stand for? And the framework is your core values. That is your lens. That is how you make your decisions. That is how we hire, how we fire. One of my mentors who's outside the chiropractic industry, you would know who he is. He has $1 billion company. I've been to his headquarters in St. Louis, Missouri. Little hint there. You could do some research. He's got an incredible brand, multiple companies. I went to the bathroom in his giant headquarters. There was not a single drop of water by the sinks, and they had like 20 sinks. There was not a piece of toilet paper on the ground. You went to his full gym that he has within his headquarters. Every racked weight was perfectly aligned. There was everything was to a T, and the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed, and they don't even have a cleaning crew. And it's because his culture and his core values have weeded out the people who don't align. And then if you do get one of those people that sneak through and they say all the right things in the interview, which it happens to all of us, they get weeded out real quick because the group weeds them out. They look at everybody and they're like, I can't hang with these people. So that's what we're creating with FreeForm is the gold standard. So if we do make a bad hire, that person usually quits within a week or two. And they usually do it through text at lunch. Like because they don't even have the balls to come up to me and say, hey, look, this isn't my fit. This isn't for me. They just don't align. So, I mean, one other thing I want to touch on this is we ask core value questions in our interview process. So an easy question that anybody can use is, hey, look, you're late to your cousin's wedding. You are rushing to the grocery store. You got to get a card, of course, for the wedding. You run in there, you come out, and there's a grocery cart sitting in the space right next to you, just taking up a space. Do you, A, get in your car and get the hell out of there because you're late? Or do you move that cart and put it back where it properly belongs because that's the right thing to do? And I've had people say, hey, I'm late. I'm going to get to my cousin's wedding. And it's like, cool. Thank you for being honest. Now you're not a good fit here. So like there's a lot of different nuances and examples you can make that align with your core values, but every decision, every conversation, everything goes through that lens. That's my framework. And it's been shown to scale to 9 offices. And we already have 10, 11, and 12 in the making right now.
I got the chills, man. I do. I genuinely do. And it aligns so directly with like the way that I feel as well in terms of having a very clear this is exactly what we were talking about before we started recording. Like, even about how you just have to be so conscious around the people that you spend your time with, and your personal life and your business life are equally the same, right? Is like, if you have certain values and certain boundaries and certain belief systems, you want to create an atmosphere and a world around you where like that exists both personally and professionally. And so it's like being crystal clear on like who those people are, but more importantly, who those people are not, and to make sure to vet them as quickly as humanly possible. It's funny that you gave the example though about how it's going to end up in like a text or probably an email, and they're definitely not going to come in that day. And
Yeah,
that's great.
I feel like one of the things about the people you surround yourself with, I want to surround myself with absolute badasses because, if you don't, you're going to seek out advice to people who are already going to give you the answer that's going to you want, right? So if I was going to buy this giant home or this beautiful piece of property and I was talking to people who have never had that type of property or don't think like me, they're going to be like, "Hey, Jesse, you're good. You got a beautiful house now. You got this and that. Like maybe you should like you save your money." But if I talk to my guys and my gals that I associate with, they're going to be like, "Hell yeah, dude. You only live once. Do it. It's going to be better for your kids. It's going to be better for your family. You got a legacy, you got a ranch." So like those people you surround yourself with, they got to align with your personal core values. Your personal core values are going to be different than your company core values. They might be similar, but like I have personal core values. I have core values for me and my wife, Emily. We teach our kids. We like, does this decision that we're about to make give us abundance? Does this move into abundance? One of our core values. Does this give us freedom or does this lock us down? Like every single decision, who are you? Do I need to have this meeting? Does this meeting give me X, Y, and Z, my core values? If it doesn't, dude, it's not worth your time. It's sure as hell not worth your time if it doesn't hit any one of those. And you could feel it innately when you're around someone that doesn't fit those core values. Because then you're just like, I don't want to be here. I'm just trying to be kind. I'm trying to be nice. Right. So once I did that, that's when my company scaled. That's when we saw an incredible change because now everybody was being the standard. My job as the CEO is to maintain and promote our culture. The franchisees, my doctors, my CAs, their goal is to be that standard. So it's a really cool process when you see them take hold of that and become a better version of themselves. And then everybody looks up to them. And that's really what it's about is serving others so they can serve themselves and their community.
Let's say the listeners bought in, right? Let's say they're like, okay, I know this is a gap in my current practice, in my current business, is that I haven't put a lot of intention behind is our vision, what is our values, what do we stand for, and ultimately what do we stand against? How did you practically figure that out? What is the process you went to? Like, was it just like built inside of you? Was it something that evolved over the years of practicing and really realizing like, I like this, I don't like this? Like, what would somebody do practically to really hammer that home?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's this road is a lonely road and you don't have a lot of people that have gone down this road before. So I did have to kind of trailblaze and find my way and my values and what we actually stand for. But the process behind it was creating a list of things that represent you or represent your company. Once you get that list, you don't want to put that thing on a poster immediately and slap it on the wall like you see a lot of businesses do. What I would do is I would take your leadership, the ones that fit the mold already. Right now, it might just be you and your wife. Might not, right now, it might just be you. But create that list, refine the list. I don't recommend anything more than 10. I don't recommend anything less than 5. That's my own personal view. Once you create this list, then you write them out and you put them everywhere. And you have to have a mission. And I'm not talking about, Corey, my mission as a FreeForm Chiropractic is to serve as many lives as possible and empower them in health. No, no, not that type of mission. I'm talking about a specific mission statement that's clear, concise, that every single person in your company can clearly state and rehearse. So my mission for Freeform is help people live free. Very simple yet profound. Everybody understands everything falls under that mission. Now we have our core values. This is how we make our decisions. I did it with my team. I did it with my leadership because my office was open for 5 years before I did core values. And then you're going to realize there are some core values that you missed. Like I've noticed whenever we had our 10 core values, I was like, damn, like going the extra mile is something that's so important for me, but we don't have it in our core values. So I looked through them and I saw one that was kind of relevant and similar to this one. And then I was like, you know what? We're knocking number 10 off and we're putting go the extra mile. But that is how you recognize people. That is how you hire. That's how you fire. I've fired people because of this. This is how you audit. This is how you correct. It's everything you do, and you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and do it. But what I do see a lot of people do is because I teach, I have a coaching group that does this. This is one of the most important things that you need to do. And what I see a lot of doctors do is they create it, and then it's like, it's posted around their office, but no one talks about it. So like we recognize every month in our monthly calls with our team, hey, who is our Freeform champion? This office is recognized as always be learning because they're doing this. This one's recognized because they're being vital and expecting miracles. You must always speak the core values. And after a while, your team's like, all right, Dr. J is getting really annoying. I don't think he's going to ever stop doing this. So we may as well buy into it. So that's kind of how it goes. It's going to be kind of met with resistance at first. And if it does get met with resistance from your existing employees, it's probably because they don't like it and they don't like the standard and they don't like the commandments that you're setting up. So maybe they're not a good fit for you. And that's what I've seen a lot of offices do. They've had veterans in their office be like, I don't like these changes. And you're like, well, if you don't like them, get out. So you clean house sometimes. You might have to do that if you create the right core values that resonate with your company.
Back when I used to practice as an occupational therapist, I remember that our company did something similar where they would have this like our company values, and then they would like name certain people that fulfilled certain company values, whether it was like, I don't remember what they were, kindness or generosity. I don't remember what they were, but looking back at it now, though, I'm now actually realizing how it kind of moved it to the front of my brain and it made me more aware of those things. So then you're more likely to obviously do it in your day-to-day work. But yeah, it seems like, again, it's one of those things where like it's such a common topic that just like feels so soft, but like real fundamentally, if you actually want to scale a business and scale a team, a chiropractic business specifically, or healthcare business, I guess you could say, is like it's so fundamental to being able to do so. I'd be curious as to like, as now the business owner that's like grown and evolved with this company over the years, what do you think is the most critical or important skill set, or maybe one or two skill sets that you had to develop in order to be able to do that, to build that type of culture and that type of team?
The two skill sets that I think are the most important for a doctor who is aspiring to be a business owner are sales and leadership. I think if you can sell, that means you have conviction. That means you have confidence, most likely charisma. If you can sell, that means you believe in what you do, right? That's first. If you can't sell, which everybody nowadays has this negative connotation to sales, which is, I don't understand it because you're getting sold on everything all the time. Um, and then if you're good at sales, which means you're good at what you do, then the leadership is what scales that. So you can find all the other things, the marketing, the retention, the culture, but really what it comes down to, in my eyes, is sales and leadership. And, if you can serve others through leadership, then you can scale everything else. But if you can't sell, well, It's okay. You just might not be an entrepreneur. You might not be a business builder. You might not be a hunter doctor. Um, if you can't lead, well, then you could still crush it and be very successful, but you might not be able to scale that success. And what we talk about at Freeform is freedom. We talk about not being handcuffed to the practice. We talk about going on vacation. We talk about enjoying your life and not being connected to a job, but actually having a life that you dreamed of.
So you have once said, quote, "Who gives a shit about how much you make if you have no freedom?"
Yeah, it's the truth.
What does that mean to you? And how does a doctor get out of just like a high earning job and into like actually the business owner?
Well, I mean, look, that's a deep question and there's a lot to it. Like, I mean, number one, what is successful, right? Like to me, you could be getting paid really well, but hate your job and hate your life. There's plenty of those people out there right now, right? Outside of our industry and in it. I see a lot of badass chiropractors who are incredible facilitators of healing. They're incredible adjusters, but they are handcuffed to the practice. They can't take vacation. They have to close their practice down if they want to go to their kid's soccer game or they want to enjoy date night or date lunch or a coffee break with your spouse. So I think successful doctors, they get trapped in they mistake revenue for freedom. They think the money is freedom. And there's no freedom in money. Actually, it's the opposite. The more money you make, the bigger the problems come, right? The bigger the problems just become bigger and the mistakes become a little bit more exposed. So I would say that it's not about what you make. It's about producing what it's about what keeps getting produced when you're not there. Okay. So like, are you building systems that make money when you are not there? Like you've heard me say the 90-day rule. What happens when you leave your practice for 90 days? What breaks? Like if we wanted to dive into that, most people who are watching this, what happens? Let's not do 90 days. Let's just do 1 day. What happens when you leave for 1 day? Well, they're the only doctor and they have one CA. The CA can't adjust. So obviously everything breaks after 1 day. Okay, let's say you have a doctor and you have another CA. Okay, like let's say you go 2 days or let's say a week, you want to go snowboarding or go to the beach with your family. Now what breaks? I mean, do visits drop? Does the marketing take a hit? Do your conversions drop? Like, let's say your businesses survive that. Now we go 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. If your business does not continue to grow without you there, you don't have a business, you have a job. If your energy and your systems disappear when you disappear, you got a disease. And that disease is called founder dependence. Your office, your company is fully dependent on you. You are the white knight. You come in with your cape and you save the day. And us as chiropractors, man, we love to put our fucking name on that building. Jacob's Chiropractic, because it is about me. I heal. I take care of everybody. I'm the white knight. So it's so ego driven and I see it everywhere. And it's like, we wonder why our profession is not growing, even though our industry is growing. The health and wellness industry, alternative medicine, conservative care, whatever you want to call it, it's growing. But why isn't our industry, why isn't our profession growing? And it's because most chiropractors cannot survive the 90-day test.
I had a doctor on a while ago, Dr. Kyler Brown. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he said something to me that has stuck. And he said, every chiropractor, every doctor, whatever you want to call it, they all want to be the guru until they want to take a vacation. And then they don't want to be the guru anymore. And so I guess the question then is like, how does somebody avoid that or get out of that? I think for starters, yeah, probably shouldn't name the practice after you. I mean, you could, it'd be fine. I don't
There's
think there's
nothing
anything
wrong
necessarily
with
wrong with
that.
that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people are going to get their panties in a wad because of that, because, you know, It is what it is. That's what I thought when I came out. You look at everybody else, they all have their name on there. Medical doctors do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with it. I've seen one of my mentors has a badass practice and it is not dependent on him. It is structurally scalable. It is very, very durable and it's named after him. I have multiple friends but that's the first mistake. You can avoid that by not naming it that way, but that's not the be all end all for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's like it's the mentality more than it is the actual decision, right? It's the mentality that this is like quote unquote my practice versus actually building a business that I think is the bigger challenge. Which leads me to that question, right? Is like, so okay, let's say somebody isn't able to do that 90-day test. Like maybe they could even do it a week test, right? Like what do they do in that scenario? Like how do they start to remove themselves? I would guess the first thing would be obviously starting to create some systems, but like give us maybe some practical things or some things that maybe you did within your business. Cause I'm sure it took you some time to figure that out. Like how could somebody short track how long it took you to do it so they could do a little bit quicker?
I mean, first off, you got to be able to grow enough to bring on other team members. Okay. So if you are not growing to where you need help, because this is what happened. I grew to a point where my quality of care, there was a threshold there that you can take care of all these people, but there comes a point where you cannot provide the focus, the energy, the effort, the intention on this patient by yourself. You've exceeded your capacity. So you need to bring someone on board. Unfortunately, most chiropractors don't get to that point, or they get to that point, they can't bring someone on, they get burnt out. So they kind of fall into a comfortable stage where it's like, hey, this is enough for me to see, not affect my quality of care. And I don't need to bring someone on because they can't bring someone on because they don't have the structure, they don't have the system. So, I mean, first off, for those doctors right now, solo, you need to write down every single system you have, how your CA greets patients, your intake forms. What is the flow of that CA bringing the patient back to a room? Does she bring the patient back to the room or does the doctor go up and do that? Because I used to do that. I used to walk to the front, say, hey, Mr. Corey, I'm Dr. Jacobs. Please follow me. I'm going to walk you back to the room. What I realized is when we're seeing hundreds of patients a day, I can't do that. So then I had to adapt and change my systems for the CA to bring them back, right? So every single process that you have in your practice that's in your head, it needs to be written down in an SOP format, standard operating procedure. Once you get that, now you can actually teach and scale it. Now, how do you adjust? What is your flow? Do you have any other niches or therapies that you add? When do you add them? In your head, Corey, Dr. Corey knows, well, I adjust first, then I do soft tissue, then I do this, then I do that. Nobody else knows. So how do we create a system that your team can see exactly what they need to do if you're not there? Then you need to create scripting. People poo-poo all over scripting. Scripting is a foundational tool. It doesn't mean you're a robot speaking the script. Your personality has to come out, but you got to know the framework of the scripting. I mean, every single thing you do, from your health talks, lunch and learn talks, screenings, in-house workshops, your conversions, your retention, your table talk, everything needs to be laid out in detail. And that can be very overwhelming for the solo doc. But again, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and do it, because what's going to happen is you're going to grow to a certain point. And when you bring that second person on, it's even more energy and effort trying to train them. So now you're treating patients and you're training. So now you're giving 120%. This person sucks at adjusting. You're trying to coach them on how to adjust, coach them on how to convert, coach them on how to do table talk. And it's all in your head. They don't remember it. Then then you get resentful. And then it's just this spiral downward because you did not have the systems to scale and you didn't grow it the appropriate way.
going to shift gears a little bit here. So you invested 200K into medical integration, and this is an interesting topic for me because actually my one of my most recent episodes I actually had a doctor on where he built a medically integrated practice. I'm curious as to why did you decide to bail on it, and yeah, what did you learn from that lesson?
Back in 2018, so I grew my practice. We were seeing 500 a week. We were well beyond 1 million in top line revenue. I just kind of paused and I was like, look, is this it? Is this all there is to it? Like I didn't really feel fulfilled. And I started to question what I was doing as a chiropractor. I told my wife, I came home one day and I was just like, I don't know if God put me on this earth to be a chiropractor. And she was like, what do you mean? I just feel like, is this it? And I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound like I'm being shitty in a person like, hey, what we do is the most incredible thing. Like I love what I do, but I just wasn't deeply fulfilled. So I just started searching and seeking out other options. And I got a little shiny object syndrome in my eyes, which was I saw friends of mine who were driving Lamborghinis, seeing half of the patients I was, and they were doing integration. And so I started looking into it and I said, look, this is about working smarter, not harder, which now, by the way, it's work smarter and harder, not just smarter. And so I just had this viewpoint. I was like, look, I could integrate medically, bring on awesome nurse practitioners and medical doctors, do stem cell PRP, all these really cool things, and be like this one-stop shop. And so the concept was really, really strong. But when I started to do it, it started to affect me in my philosophy. I'm a very vitalistic, principled chiropractor. We preach the chiropractic message, the sacred trust that BJ Palmer passed down to us. And what I was realizing was I was trying to make the philosophy work by doing everything all natural, but it just was too much for me to really handle. And I said, okay, I had to stop. We did it successfully. We made a lot of money. We made a huge impact on a lot of people's lives. But I got to a point where I said, look, we have something that's really, really simple, which is chiropractic. It's a philosophy, it's an art, and it's a science. It's really simple when it boils down to like those three things. Let's keep it simple to scale. You've heard me say scale probably 100 times already in this podcast. In order to keep it simple, in order to scale, you must simplify everything. And so that's when I said, instead of making one big badass office, let's open up all these lighthouses around the country and be beacons of light and be the gold standard in chiropractic. So I abandoned that. And when I abandoned that, that was a really hard decision for me because I put a lot of time, money, and energy into it. But man, I'm so proud of that decision. It was a huge decision for me to make. And me and my wife made that together. And since then, that's when we started opening up multiple offices.
Are you familiar with Raising Cane's, Todd Graves?
Yeah, I love their story.
Okay, so there's a great quote or statement by Todd Graves of Raising Cane's, and he says, "Find a simple idea and take it seriously."
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I think because like if you look at Raising Cane's, they only have like I think it's like 7 items on the menu or something like that. It's like chicken. They got their toast and their sauce or whatever it is, maybe some fries and a drink or something like that. And it's like they just take it seriously and they crush it and they provide incredible chicken and people love it. I feel like that's a lot of what you're describing as well of what you've built with Freeform is like taking essentially a simple idea and just taking it seriously.
Dude, I've never heard it that way. That's really, really well said. You look at just other industries not reinventing the wheel, right? In and Out is probably the number one like burger chain as in terms of quality. What do they have? They got burgers. Canes, Chick-fil-A. What they've focused on is quality and customer service. Chiropractors, they don't think about the patient experience and what the person walking through the doors is really experiencing. They're thinking about, man, I got to teach them our philosophy. Man, I got to save their life. And those are all very critical to getting the patient better and getting them to stay with you. But it's all about the patient experience and keeping it simple, because then it's like the patient comes in, and I'm not, again, integrated offices are incredible. Like, it's a different model. I don't think it's as scalable as what I'm doing, but you can do it, and you can do it really well. I have a lot of really good friends that have done it in incredible ways, and they're very successful. My thing is I wanted to make a huge impact, and that's where the keep it simple stupid came in, where I was like, in order for me to open up a bunch of these and make the impact I want, I have to get rid of all the fluff. And that's what we did, and here we are 9 offices later.
One more question for you. I feel like a topic that we've hit a lot on this episode is just the importance of your community and your culture and your connections and your team. And I feel like at the core of everything that we've really talked about here today is just like how important it is ultimately to have A+ players, both in your team and in your life. And so I know you advise people of building a group of like-minded individuals or even like a C-suite of people that they can really turn to. What's maybe like the most tangible step that a doctor could take this week to build that support system or build that team or build that culture, just to like make sure they're getting around the right people?
Yeah, great question. And I will say this, you know, why do it alone? And, when we look back, I always go back to like ancestral man and woman, right? We are tribal at our core. The only way our human species has been able to evolve is by being in tribes, right? If you had your family, then you could only protect your family so much. Then you got into a tribe, then people were watching your back, then tribes turned into cities. It just kept growing. And chiropractic is a tribe. We want everybody to do better. We want everybody to succeed. So like, but you know what's crazy is I don't have people calling me saying, "Hey, Dr. J, like, could you give me some advice on this?" Like, they know where to contact me, but like they don't. So like if you're a young doctor looking for guidance, if you're a established doctor that might be struggling, just pick up the phone. If you see someone that is living a life that you might want to be like, or you have a mentor that you look up to, reach out to them. We would always extend our hand and say, "Hey, come in, follow me. Let's jump on a phone call." Like, chiropractors are so selfless. They are such incredible humans that like there's no there's certain industries within our chiropractic profession that don't help others. But the vast majority of chiropractors want to help, especially our younger generation. So I would also say one other thing, which is you must have faith. Like, your faith is the most important thing in what you're doing. And my core values are faith, family, freedom, and fortitude, in that order, as Charlie Kirk said. Faith, number one, you have to have your relationship with God first. Then you have your family. Then you have your freedom, which is your country. Then you have your fortitude, your grit, your persistence, your resolve. If you have those in alignment, find someone that resonates with your core values. Reach out to them. Fly. Who gives a shit? Get in your car, drive. It doesn't even have to be right here, right now. Get on a Zoom call. Those people want to help you. The successful chiropractors, they want to help others, especially the young, hungry ones that remind them of themselves. So it doesn't happen in isolation. Why try to figure it all out on your own? Like, if you're trying to get to the top of the mountain, ask someone who's been there. That's probably the best recommendation I could give you, because otherwise you're just going to have to figure it out. It's going to be a long, lonely, dark, hard road. That's what I did. So I have my mentors. I reach out to them weekly, monthly, different ones for different topics. And they fast tracked me so much more, so much faster and accelerated and compressed time for me. And that's what I try to do for others.
Funny thing is that there's like almost no unsolved problems, especially in the chiropractic space. Is like somebody's done what you're trying to do, you might as well ask them and get a little advice. What's your plug? Where can people find you? How do you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, man. You can find me at Dr. Jesse Jacobs, Dr. Jesse Jacobs, pretty much on any platform, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You could go to my website, drjessejacobs.com. That's where we have our coaching, the Vitalis movement. Vitalis meaning being a vitalistic chiropractor, someone who really teaches the definition of doctor, which means teacher, being that lighthouse in your community. So you could find everything on there. You can inquire about franchising and coaching or just being part of the crew. I'd love to help in any way. The thing that I really want from our profession is to create better chiropractors, to create badasses. What you said, Corey, was A+ players. We don't need B players or C players. We need the best of the best. So if something resonates with you that I said and you're interested in just being around my circle, because it's not me, it's me and my 45 crew members that really set the standard, come on board, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you and love to help you through whether it's your own practice, it's your associateship, or if it's possibly being a franchisee. We would go through that process and see if you're a good fit.